Hi guys, this is Igoro Tech and today we are going to unbox this FortiGate 200F device. We will go through the very basic configuration afterwards. If you have some corrections or suggestions, feel free to drop your comments below. Note: this video is for demonstration purposes only. Again, we are going to unbox first this legendary 200F. Yes, 200F. I'd been eager to check out the amazing new features. Anyways, we will about to check all of that. Even during the COVID-19, Fortinet is constantly updating its portfolio. They just released this FortiGate 200F, which replaces the legendary 200E model. The FortiGate 200F series delivers next-generation firewall or NGFW capabilities for mid-size to large enterprises deployed at the campus or enterprise branch level. Protects against cyber threats with high-powered security processors for optimized network performance, security efficacy, and deep visibility. We will take a look all of these items one by one in a minute. Okay, so these are all of the items included in the box. Let's now check it one by one. First is this console cable. I'm amazed by this new type of console cable with Fortinet logo on it. You can buy this online for around $10 US. Next is the Ethernet cable. The power supply redundancy is essential in the operation of mission-critical networks. It is designed to increase network availability and uptime. They provide power to supported Fortinet devices should the internal power supply fail. You have these mounting hardwares. And lastly, these quick start guides. Now, let's take a look at the device. This is the front view. The back where you can check your barcode and serial number. And the bottom where you can check your device model. Let's now install the mounting hardwares. Let's have a quick review on the interfaces. 2 gigabit Ethernet RJ45 high availability and management ports. 16 gigabit Ethernet RJ45 ports. 2 10 gigabit Ethernet SFP slots. 2 10 gigabit Ethernet SFP plus 40 link slots. 8 gigabit Ethernet SFP slots. 1 USB port 3.0, 1 console port and 480 GB SSD. At the back of the device we can see the dual AC line. Firewall throughput of 27 GB per second, if set up IPS only then it has 5 GB per second, NGFW has 3.5 GB per second and with thread protection enabled it has 3 GB per second. Let's now plug in the power adapter. The console cable, our computer to management port and port 15 for the WAN. This would be our topology. Now, let's power on the device. I've noticed the power LED indicator is red comparing to older model which is green. First thing we have to do is to change the computer IP address. They must be in the same subnet with the FortiGate 200F management port which is 192.168.1.99. Now, open your web browser and enter the management IP. Log in using the default user account with username admin and no password. In the first boot of the device or after factory reset, you must configure the device password. Enter your desired password. You will have to log in again, enter the username and the new configured password. In this window, you can check the device details, the license, the host name which we are about to change, the device serial number, the firmware version which this version 6.2.4, operation mode, date, and time, device uptime and the WAN IP address. Now, we will change the host name. To do that, go to System then select Settings. You can input your desired host name or usually the company name. You can also change the time zone on this page. If you don't like green color then you can change it here, we have some few options. But we will use the default theme for now. You can also change the idle timeout in this window. The idle timeout setting determines how long a session is valid. Let's enter 30 minutes. Once done, click Apply. We will now configure the network interfaces. Go to Network then Interfaces. This is where you configure your LAN network and WAN network addresses, and this management IP net mask. We will first configure the WAN interface. From our topology the port 15 is our WAN interface and it's currently in the hardware switch, so we have to remove from that group and set it as our internet facing interface. You can enter your alias as your guide. Set the interface role to WAN since this is the internet facing interface. Set the addressing mode to manual and enter IP net mask provided by your ISP. If you're planning to access the device from the internet through HTTPS and SSH and if you want the device to be pingable then you can enable it here. Do not allow HTTP and Telnet on internet-facing interface for better security. But, this is all depends on your personal preferences. Click on OK to save the configuration. From here, you can see the IP net mask we configured and also the enabled administrative access. We will now proceed to the LAN interface. You can set the alias. Set the interface's role to LAN. Set the addressing mode to manual and enter the IP net mask using the IP address you want to assign. For the administrative access you can enable HTTPS access. SSH for secured remote connection. You may enable ping for testing and troubleshooting purposes. Enable DHCP if you plan this device to be your DHCP server. Enter the address range. Remember the DHCP range, you will want to avoid all of the IP addresses between 10.1.1.100 to 10.1.1.254 when you're assigning static IP address. For the DNS server, if you host your own DNS or you have Active Directory then you can enter the IP address. If not, then we will use Google DNS and Cloudflare DNS. You may want to enable device detection. It is intended for devices directly connected to your LAN ports. This is very useful for troubleshooting. Click on OK to save your configuration. Let's now configure the static route. Go to Network and select Static Route. We need to create new route to allow the FortiGate to reach the internet. Choose subnet and leave it to 8 zeros. 8 zeros means you can access anything or all. Set the gateway IP to the IP provided by your ISP. In my case, It's the ISP router 192.168.0.2. Select the interface using the internet-facing interface. We will leave the administrative distance as default. Click on OK to save the configuration. From here, we can see the new configured route. Let's now configure the policy. Go to Policy and Objects and select IPv4 policy. This FortiGate 200F don't have any pre-configured policy. We will create a new policy which is all-to-all. It means, internal network can access everything and can use any protocols at any time. No schedule, no filtering and no restrictions. To do this, click on Create New. Let us give a name of LAN to all. Incoming interface is the LAN or internal network. Outgoing interface is our internet-facing interface. For the source we will add new address using the internal subnet. Name it as local LAN. Enter the internal LAN IP net mask. Destination to all. Schedule to always and services to all. For security profiles, we are going to use the default profiles. Click on OK to save the configuration. You can see that there's an error which is all source interfaces are down. We encountered this issue because we configured the device using the management port and there's no active device plugged into internal ports. We will now plug in the computer to the port 1 which is a part of the LAN interfaces for us to test the configuration. We also have to reconfigure the computer IP address to be in the same subnet with the internal network. Open your browser and enter the LAN default gateway. Enter your username and password. Let's now test the configuration.
Hey, what happened?
I will explain one thing. If the FortiGate device is not yet activated or the license has been expired, then you are not able to access the internet if the web filtering is enabled. We enabled the web filtering earlier during the configuration. I did it on purpose just for additional review. This was our configuration earlier. Let's now try to disable the web filter profile, then test the configuration again. Now, it's working. We can now reach google.com and fortinet.com. You can see the traffic going out to the internet. If you want to monitor the traffic for this policy, then you can go to FortiView. In this window you can check the source IP or device, destination IP, or country, websites, etc. The other way is going to log and report and select forward traffic. You can click on any log you want to view and you can see all the details on the right. Click on Add Filter and from here you have a lot of choices also to select. You can choose source IP or device, destination, users, by policy, etc. We will now configure the per service policy which is recommended and for better security. To do this, we can simply copy, paste and edit the policy. Right-click on the policy you want to clone. From here you have few options, but we will choose copy for cloning. Now, right-click again on the policy and you will have two options to paste, either paste above or below the copied policy. We will have to edit the policy. we will configure first the DNS traffic, so we'll enter the name DNS. Leave the rest to default except for the service, we need to change to DNS. We only need to change the name and the service. Click on OK to save the changes. Now, we have to enable the policy. Next is the HTTP and HTTPS traffic. We can do the same process again. You can name it as HTTP, HTTPS. In the service option we need to change to HTTP and HTTPS. Click on OK. Now, enable the policy. Next, we will create another policy for email services. Name it as mail. And for the service we will add the service group email access. All of the email services are in this group. You can now enable the policy. Every time we made some change you will see the notification at the bottom. We will create those basic 4 policy for this demonstration. For the policy, the rule is top comes first, so first traffic would hit the DNS, then HTTP HTTPS going down to the bottom. You can create more policies, then watch out for the LAN to all policy. If the traffic is not hitting that policy, then you can disable it. Maybe few months depending on the size of the company. Let's do a quick test for google.com and fortinet.com. Great. It's working. We will do a quick review on the Fortiguard DDNS. If your external IP address changes regularly and you have a static domain name, you can configure the external interface to use a dynamic DNS service. This ensures that external users and customers can always connect to your company firewall anytime, anywhere using the dynamic DNS. To do this, go to Network, DNS. Enable FortiGuard DDNS. Select the internet-facing interface. Since the PPPoE is configured on the ISP router, we need to enable use public IP address. Enter your unique DDNS or organization name. You can now share the domain name to external users and customers, and they can connect to your company firewall. Next is we're going to check the very basic security profiles, since we just used the default profile earlier. Go to Security Profile. First, is Antivirus. You can select the default profile and edit it based on your preference. Same goes with the web filter. You can block those adult contents. Peer-to-peer file sharing. If you want to minimize the downloads, you can check all these other categories. You can edit your DNS profile if you want. For the application control, you can clone and edit the profile you want. You can block games category. Even the social media. If you're not sure what's under that category, then you can choose view signatures to view the application signatures. And you have a lot of options. You can see the Facebook, which is the most visited social media. Click on Apply to save the configuration. Now we are going to apply those security profiles we just created. We will apply the new created profile, enable DNS since this is for the DNS traffic, and we can disable the application control. For the HTTPS profile, we will enable the antivirus, web filter, application control, and SSL inspection. Click on OK to save the configuration. You can edit the email access. And lastly, the LAN to all. Since this policy will catch all the remaining traffic, then we must enable all security profiles available. You can keep on creating more policies and security profiles. Then, after a few months of monitoring, then you can disable this policy. This depends on the size of the organization. The bigger the more challenging, the smaller the easier. We will now proceed to the last process. One of the most and very important process that can save your life. Backup and restore. It is recommended to back up your configuration once you're done configuring the device or every time you made some changes. You will be in a very difficult situation if you don't have backup configuration. You can also configure the automated backup of the configuration. To back up the config, click on the user at the top. Select configuration and you will have option to backup, restore and revisions. We will choose backup. Click on OK to proceed. Now, open the downloaded backup file. We will take a look on the file name. Igorotech is the host name, followed by the year, month, and date. And the remaining with the exact time of backup. Next process is restoring the backup file. For this demonstration we will factory reset the device. During the restoration, you have to consider two things: ensure no power interruption and do not manually reboot your device during the process. To do this, open the CLI. Run the command exe factory reset. You will be asked if you want to continue. Type Y to proceed. The factory reset takes time, but for this FortiGate 200F, I'm really surprised by the process. After reset, you need to log in again using the default IP address. Enter the default username with no password, then create new password for your account. To restore the configuration, click the user at the top, click on configuration and choose restore. Now you will locate and upload the configuration file. Enter the password if you have configured it during the backup process. If not, simply click on OK. Wait for it to finish the restoration. That's all for today's demonstration, and I hope you like this video. If you do, please like, click the notification bell and subscribe for more upcoming videos. Thank you and see you in the next video.